going to learn about the first lesson of Hornbill, The Portrait of a Lady, written by Khushwant Singh. So this prose piece, The Portrait of a Lady, is the true story of the author Khushwant Singh. So he describes his relationship between his grandmother and how it got drifted over the years. And also he explains her appearance, which helps to create an image in the reader's minds. So before going into the line by line explanation, we'll see a short introduction about the author. So as I said, The Portrait of Lady was written by Khushwant Singh. He was born on 2nd February 1915. His parents named him Kushal Singh, and later he changed his name from Kushal Singh to Khushwant Singh. So he was an Indian author and he completed his law. So he was a lawyer, he was a journalist, and also he was a politician. So in 1947 he experienced the partition of India. So at that time India and Pakistan has been divided. So the Muslim people, they went back to Pakistan, and the Hindu people, they moved back to India. So his experience of this partition inspired him to write Train to Pakistan novel in 1956, and that was his most well-known novel, and it was also made into film in 1998. And finally on 20th March 2014 he passed away. So now let's move on to the lesson. My grandmother, like everybody's grandmother, was an old woman. She had been old and wrinkled for the 20 years that I had known her. People said that she had once been young and pretty and had even had a husband, but that was hard to believe. My grandfather's portrait hung above the mantelpiece in the drawing room. He wore a big turban and loose-fitting clothes. His long white beard covered the best part of his chest, and he looked at least 100 years old. So here the poet says that, like everybody's grandmother, she was also an old woman, and he says that she has wrinkles on her forehead, and he has been watching that for almost 20 years. And the people used to tell the author that his grandmother was once a young and pretty lady, but the author wasn't able to believe that, since he never seen her younger self. So now he talks about his grandfather, and there was a photograph hung above the mantelpiece. Mantelpiece means a wooden shelf above a fireplace. So while looking at the photograph, he describes about his grandfather, and he was wearing a big turban and cozy clothes, oversized clothes, and he has a long and white beard covered until his chest. And the author says that the grandfather looks very, very old, like a great grandfather. So this is a mantelpiece which I discussed in the previous slide. He did not look the sort of person who would have a wife or children. He looked as if he could have lots and lots of grandchildren. As for my grandmother, being young and pretty, the thought was almost revolting. She often told us of the games she used to play as a child that seemed quite absurd and undignified on her part, and we treated it like the fables of the prophets she used to tell us. So here the author says that while looking at the photograph, in his eyes the grandfather looked very old, and he looked like a great-great-grandfather. So he was not able to believe that he was once a young and pretty person. But apart from that, in his eyes, his grandmother looked as a young and pretty person. And also he says that his grandmother, she used to tell him the games she used to play in her childhood. The author used to ignore few fables which the grandmother used to tell him. Fables means stories of fictions with morals. So same like that, he ignored when she used to tell him about the games she used to play as a child, because it seemed quite illogical. Now we'll see the meaning of the hard words we discussed in the previous slides. Wrinkles means having lines or folds. Portrait means painting or picture. The thought was almost revolting means it was very hard for the author to believe. Revolting means unpleasant. Absurd means illogical. Undignified means disrespectful. Fables means fictitious stories with a moral teaching. Prophets means saints. Now we'll move on to the Next paragraph. She had always been short and fat and slightly bent. Her face was a crisscross of wrinkles running from everywhere to everywhere. No, we were certain she had always been as we had known her, old so terribly old that she could not have grown older, and had stayed at the same age for 20 years. She could never have been pretty, but she was always beautiful. She had always been short and fat and slightly bent. So the author was saying that the grandmother, she was very short person and she was little bit fat and her back was slightly bent and her face was a crisscross of wrinkles running from everywhere to everywhere. So she used to walk here and there over the house and she had wrinkles all over her face. No, we were certain she had always been as we had known her, old so terribly old that she could not have grown older and had stayed at the same age for 20 years. So she was very old since she was a grandmother, so obviously she was very old. Although she was very old, she looked the same for almost 20 years. She could never have been pretty, but she was always beautiful. Now the author says that she was not that pretty, but she was always beautiful. She had that elegant side inside her face. She hobbled about the house in spotless white, with one hand resting on her waist to balance her stoop and the other telling the beads of her rosary. Her silver locks were scattered untidily over her pale, puckered face, and her lips constantly moved in inaudible prayer. Yes, she was beautiful. She was like the winter landscape in the mountains, an expanse of pure white serenity breathing peace and contentment. She hobbled about the house in spotless white, with one hand resting on her waist to balance her stoop and other telling the beads of her rosary. So here the author says that she used to walk here and there in an awkward manner in a white dress. Spotless white means she was wearing white dress because her husband has been passed away. So every day she'll wear white dress and her one hand will be resting on her waist to balance her stoop. Stoop means her back was bent, right? So she will be resting one hand on her waist and the other she will have the rosary. It's a chain like thing which she used to chant prayers. So she will have one rosary in one hand and the other hand will be resting on her waist. Her silver locks were scattered untidily over her pale puckered face and her lips constantly moved in an inaudible prayer. So here the author says that the grandmother, she has grey hairs. So the grey hairs will be scattered over the pale face. She will not comb it properly. So it will be scattered over her pale face, pale and wrinkled face, and she will be chanting the prayer. So her lips will be constantly will be moving. And he is saying that yes, she was beautiful. The grandmother is very beautiful. She was like the winter landscape in the mountains, an expanse of pure white serenity breathing peace and contentment. So here the author is comparing the grandmother to the winter landscape in the mountains. An expanse of pure white serenity means she has the calm and peace face, peace mind and that kind of calmness in his face. So he was comparing her to a winter landscape in the mountains. Now we'll see the meaning of the hard words for the previous slides. Crisscross. It means a pattern of intersecting straight lines. Hobbled means walked in an awkward way. Spotless white means she wore clean white colored dresses. Stoop means bent one's body forward. Rosary means a string of beads for keeping count of numbers of chants made of a religious prayer. Locks means hair and scattered means disorganized. Untidily means not neat. Puckered means a face contract into wrinkles. Inaudible means unable to be heard. Serenity means the state of being peaceful and calm. An expanse of pure white serenity means it refers to a calm, relaxed and peaceful character of the author's grandmother. And contentment means a state of happiness and satisfaction. Now we'll move on to the next paragraph. My grandmother and I were good friends. My parents left me with her when they went to live in the city, and we were constantly together. She used to wake me up in the morning and get me ready for school. She said her morning prayer in a monotonous sing-song while she bathed and dressed me in the hope that I would listen and get to know it by heart. I listened because I loved her voice but never bothered to learn it. My grandmother and I were good friends. So here the author Khushwant Singh was saying his grandmother and he were good friends. My parents left me with her when they went to live in the city, and we were constantly together. So here the parents of Khushwant Singh, they left the author with his grandmother, and they went to the city for work. So logically grandmother and the grandchild both were constantly living together. She used to wake me up in the morning and get me ready for school. So every day the grandmother, she used to wake him up in the morning and she used to get him ready to school. She said her morning prayer in a monotonous sing-song while she bathed and dressed me in a hope that I would listen and get to know it by heart. So every day while she bathed him and dressed him up, she will chant a dull and boring morning prayer with him. Monotonous means dull and boring. So the grandmother, she hoped that if she chants the prayer every day, maybe the grandchild, he will be listening to it and he will learn it by heart. I listened because I loved her voice but never bothered to learn it. But the author, he says that he never wanted to learn it by heart, but he listened the song, he listened the morning prayer because he loved the voice of his grandmother. Then she would fetch my wooden slate, which she had already washed and plastered with yellow chalk, a tiny earthen ink pot and a red pen, tie them all in a bundle and hand it to me. After a breakfast of a thick stale chapati with a little butter and sugar spread on it, we went to school. She carried several stale chapatis with her for the village dogs. So here the author is saying after grandmother makes him ready, she will go and fetch the wooden slate and give it to him. So it was around the time of Indian independence. So at that time in the village areas there were no books, there were no proper books. So the kids will be learning the alphabets, everything, rhymes, everything in a wooden slate. So on the previous day before, she will wash the wooden slate and she will plaster it with yellow chalk and she will keep it ready. And also nowadays we are using pouch and boxes to keep our pen, ink or eraser, something like that. So at that time she will keep everything ready and she'll tie them into a bundle, and on the next day after getting him ready, she'll hand it to the author. After a breakfast of a thick stale chapati with a little butter and a sugar spread on it, we went to school. So the morning breakfast was a thick stale chapati. Every day she'll prepare fresh chapatis for the author with a little butter and sugar spread on it, and after having breakfast they both will go to school. She carried several stale chapatis with her for the village dog. So on the way to school she'll carry bits and pieces of stale chapatis with her to feed the village stray dogs. Now again we'll see the meaning of hard words for the previous slides. Monotonous means dull and boring. Bothered means to be concerned. Fetch means go for and then bring back for something for someone. Slate means a flat plate of slate formerly used for writing on in schools. Plastered means covered with a layer of plaster. Earthen means made of baked or fired clay. Stale means no longer fresh and pleasant to eat, hard, musty or dry. We'll move on to the next paragraph. My grandmother always went to school with me because the school was attached to the temple. The priest taught us the alphabet and morning prayer. While the children sat in rows on either side of the veranda singing the alphabet or the prayer in the chorus, my grandmother sat inside reading the scriptures. When we had both finished, we would walk back together. This time the village dogs would meet us at the temple door. So here My grandmother always went to school with me because the school was attached to the temple. So every day both of them will go together to school, and the grandmother, she will drop him in the school and she'll go to the temple. So the school and the temple both were attached. There were no separate compounds for it, and both were attached. So the author will go to school, and the grandmother, she will go to the temple. The priest taught us the alphabet and morning prayer. So here the priest means the teacher, this teacher in the school. He or she will teach the alphabets and also the morning prayer. While the children sat in rows on either side of the veranda singing the alphabet or the prayer in the chorus, my grandmother sat inside reading the scriptures. So here, while the children, they will sat in rows on the either side of the veranda, or inside the school or either side of the veranda, they will be sitting there and they will be singing the alphabets, or they will be singing the prayer in a chorus. And at the same time, the grandmother, she will go inside the temple and she'll sat inside and she'll start reading the scriptures, like Bhagavad Gita, Bible or something. She'll be reading the scriptures. When we had both finished, we would walk back together. So after the lessons are over, after the readings are over, both of them will be walk back together to home. This time the village dogs would meet us at the temple door. So at the evening, when they go back home, again the village dogs, they will be following them to home, because the grandmother, she used to feed the village dogs with stale chapatis. That's why the village dog always used to follow them together. They followed us to our home, growling and fighting with each other for the chapatis we threw to them. So here the author was saying that every day the village dogs, after the school timing also, they will be following these two people to home, and they will be growling. Growling means they will make some low voices, and the dogs will be fighting with each other for the chapatis, because the grandmother used to feed them chapatis. She'll throw the chapatis in front of the dogs, so they used to fight with each other. When my parents were comfortably settled in the city, they sent for us. So now the parents, they moved to a city. The city's name was not mentioned in the text. So when they comfortably settled over there, they asked both the grandmother and the grandson, which means the author, to go back to the city. That was a turning point in our friendship. So here, this is the main twist in the story. So this is a turning point in their friendship between the grandmother and the grandson. Although we shared the same room, my grandmother no longer came to school with me. So when they moved back to the city, both of them were sharing the same room, but there was some kind of distance. Slowly their relationship started drifting apart. I used to go to an English school in a motor bus. So before that, the author used to go to a small school in a village, and now when he moved back to the city, he started going to an English school, and the transportation was also available. So he started going to school in a motor bus. There were no dogs in the street, and she took to feeding sparrows in the courtyard of a city house. So when the author started going to school in a motor bus, there was no longer need for the grandmother to accompany him to school. So she didn't had any time pass things to do, and also there were no dogs to feed them also. So in that house there was a courtyard, balcony like thing, and in there some birds and sparrows used to come there. So the grandmother, she started feeding them with small breadcrumbs. So apart from all those things, that was the favorite pastime for the grandmother. Now we'll see the meaning of the hard words for the previous slides. Growling means making a low guttural sound in the throat. Courtyard means veranda, and scriptures means a sacred writings of a religion. So today we have seen the happiest relationship between the author and his grandmother. So tomorrow in the next second part, we'll see how their relationship drifted apart and about the rest of the story. So until then, keep on reading the text for better understanding. Thank you so much.